So a question we get asked often is how to find the best squat position. And there's so many variables that people have been playing with, but today we'll run you through a really easy, effective way to find that optimal position.
So this is pretty much what I would say is the squat hack. This is how you can quickly understand what it takes to get the best squat position for an individual. We're all going to be different. Feet are different, thigh lengths are different, torso lengths are different, muscle bulks are different. Here's basically a structural analysis, doesn't take long to play with, that allows you to find very close to the best position for a person. Alright, the simple physics of the squat are this. From Sam's toe to his heel, that's going to be his base of support. When he's got a weight on his back, or just simply his own body weight, he has to be able to get his center of gravity somewhere between his heel to his toe. Now, if Sam had a really long femur and a very short torso, he would have to lean forward a long way through his hips to be able to get his body weight over and forward to where his heel would be. But if he was like many members of the Chinese weightlifting team, he might have a short femur and a long torso. That enables him to be very upright. He doesn't have to come very far forward. So the big variables often with this are how long the femur is and how long the torso is. It will tell you how you can get your foot positioned so that your body will be able to put the center of mass over it. So the people who have really long femurs and a short torso, they're actually going to have to bring their knees forward so that they can accommodate to the length of that femur. Those who don't, they sit back a bit further. So that's one of the big things I always look at. I look at how long the femur is, how long the torso is. But one of the biggest parts that we have to work with is, what are the hip joints like? Can they allow us to get to the best position we can? Well, Sam, what I'm going to get you to do, I'm going to get you to stand up, I'm going to face the camera there, and I'm going to change the chair, I'm going to get you to sit on the chair just behind you. Alright, now, hip joints come in many different types. Let's just say there are deep hip sockets and shallow hip sockets. A deep hip socket does not allow you to open up very wide. If you've got a long femur, short torso, deep hip socket, you've got a big disadvantage. If you've got a long torso, short femur, shallow hip sockets, you've got a big advantage. So, if we have a look at Sam here, what I look at, a simple way to find out what your hip potential is you simply sit in a position like this. How wide can you open your feet and still keep your knees above your ankles? So in this position here, Sam, bring those heels back just a bit underneath you, a little bit back towards you, good. And allow the toes to follow the line of the femur. Don't drive the toes in, that's not natural. Allow the natural line of femur to toe. Sam looks pretty good there. Let's go a little bit wider, Sam. And what you start to see is the knee's falling in now. In other words, he's gone too wide. He's not able to get his knee out over his ankle. If he does, that's really, really tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels crap. Now, although structurally he's probably within a millimetre of where he should be, he wouldn't be able to do this because his adductors would be just fighting to try and drive him in. So what we want to do is bring the feet in a little bit closer. Good. And now from this position here, if we just pull the knees out slightly, you're using your glutes now, and we can actually use the glutes. Even that might be slightly tight on the inside of your thighs. How's that feel? Yeah. Better. All right, now from here, by opening his knees up, Sam has brought his feet a little bit closer to him. So that means if he stands up from there, he's very upright. He has not had to bend over forward. Sit back to the chair and then Sam will do a couple of reps. Now, if Sam was a back patient, and we'll do a few reps there, Sam, same thing. If Sam was a back patient who was having to do rehab with me, this position then, because it's very upright, allows him to squat and deadlift for rehab because he's able to keep himself upright, not forward. It's not the action of being forward that's the problem, it's the length of the torque that is produced. It's the length of the lever in relation to his lumbar spine. So here, the length of the lever is very short. And that's come through him being a sumo. Thanks for that, Sam. You can stand up now. And now we're going to bring our other cameraman, Julian. You can swap over there, Sam. Julie, you can come in. And we'll have a look at a different hip again. So just taking a seat there, Julie. Good. Sitting towards the front a little bit. Just step forward. That's good. Now, from there, Let's open your feet up a little bit wider. Good. Now already, Julie's starting to drop her knees in a bit. That's not overly super comfortable at this point. And if I just get you to open your knees up a little bit. All right, that's not feeling so good, is it? That's horrible. It's already feeling as if she's fighting it. Let's bring the feet in. Good. That looks much better. Now, can you keep your feet there and just pull your knees out slightly? Good. Julie's very tight. Do you feel the tightness there? Let's go in a little bit closer. A little bit closer, another centimetre. That. Now you can pull your knees out slightly. Good. Did that feel much more comfortable? You can just see how the tension dropped off. Now, Julie, for you to get to stand up from there, let's see how your squat looks. Good. Butt back, knees out. Good. And up. Well, notice Julie is slightly having to bring her knees slightly forward. Julie has a fairly deep hip socket compared to Sam. This is actually tougher for Julie. So Sam's got a hip socket that's a bit more shallow. Julie actually has a little bit of a tighter hip socket. And it's a challenge, but this is her best position we've now found. So it's easy. You should not feel as if you're too tight on the adductors. If you are, come in a centimetre or two until it's not so tight. That's what you can fundamentally work with. Good. Thanks, Julie. And now we should get our other camera person in today. This will be Tilly. Tilly, who has perhaps another different type of hip socket. So Tilly, our mission, let's get those feet out. Now Tilly here, clearly straight away, shallow hip socket. Now, if I get you to stand up from there, Tilly, and back to the bench seat, good. There's hardly any movement whatsoever. She's not having to lean forward because her feet are almost there now at this point, underneath her, in the same line. So her centre of mass already in this position, incredibly upright. So stand up from there, Tilly. Great. Barely any forward lean has to be done at all because her shallow hip socket allows her to open up. Now sit back there, Till. That's a little bit tight on the front, isn't it? All right. Let's come in a little bit closer for you. And now just pull the knees out like that and stand up from there. That's a lot easier, isn't it? What we just saw is this is functionally what Tilly can squat with. It's functional. Although we went really, really wide and she can get there, that's her structural limit. That's where she can get to with her structure. But she can't perform in that position because her body doesn't know how to work with that end range. So for people who have a large range, sometimes they can't control it. We come into the position where it feels good and we work and train in that position, and then over 6 months we might open up a couple of centimetres. Work again, open up. It will take a year or two perhaps to optimise on your structure, but you're starting off in a position that you know you can work with really nicely. Well, thanks, Tilly, that was great. So what do you think of that, Dan? That's an interesting way.
That was really great, and what we saw there, 3 different people, all with 3 different ranges of motion. So
yeah,
really cool to demonstrate.
All different anatomies.
That's right.
It's really quite easy. You start in the chair and you simply find a position where you can put your knees over basically where your heels will be. Allow your toes to point out in the line of the femur. Stand up. And that'll be your mechanically advantaged position. That's the simple basic part as to how we can work on structure. There are, of course, some other anatomical things that are individual. That's where a good coach will come in. But this is the basic assessment that I start with, and it's really going to work really super well for at least 90% of most people.
Fantastic.
Thanks for that, everyone.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked what you saw, you can subscribe right here. Oh yeah.